Hey, welcome back. In the last few years, the base Samsung Galaxy models have usually offered slightly better hardware than the base iPhones. Things like a 120Hz display, a more complete camera setup, and in general features that made them more competitive and maybe even more interesting at the same price. But with the new updates on the iPhone 17 base model, Apple has basically closed that gap. So, let's take a look at the main differences, put them side by side, and see what changes. This way, if you're thinking about choosing between these two models, you can get a clearer idea. The first thing you notice when you pick them up is definitely the form factor. The iPhone 17 is slightly bigger than the S25, just a few millimeters, but the S25 immediately feels more compact, also because of its more squared design with sharper edges, and it's around 15 grams lighter at 162 grams. In any case, both phones feel great in the hand. The size is still in that medium range, so they're easy to handle. The difference becomes a bit more noticeable when we talk about the buttons. iPhone gives you more options. Besides the classic 3 buttons, power and volume, just like Samsung, you also get the action button, which you can customize, and the camera control button that gives you quick access to the camera or the AI features. As for materials, they're the same. Glass on the back and aluminum frames. The most obvious difference is in the cameras. As you can see, the iPhone has one less, and they're also slightly more raised, but we'll talk about them in a moment. Now let's move to something really interesting, the display. First of all, you should know that this year the iPhone 17 went from 6.1 to 6.3 inches, while the Samsung S25 has a 6.2-inch display. So they're very similar, but the iPhone is a bit bigger. The only compromise, though, is the dynamic island at the top. That's where the sensors, the camera and Face ID are placed, and it takes up a small part of the screen. On the Samsung, you only have the tiny central hole punch for the front camera, which you can use for face unlock, and as an alternative you have the under-display fingerprint sensor. Like I said at the beginning, the iPhone 17 made a big jump forward with the display this year. Apple brought the same panel used in the Pro and Pro Max models. We finally get the 120Hz refresh rate, matching Samsung, but not only that. It also gets brighter outdoors, reaching 3000 nits, while Samsung goes up to 2600. Apple also improved the anti-reflective coating on the display, something the Galaxy S25 doesn't have. You only get that on the Ultra model, not on the base one. So yes, on these points, the iPhone 17 does better. But honestly, in daily use, both screens are fantastic. Great brightness, great colors. Samsung tends to have more vivid, punchy colors, while Apple keeps things a little softer, but still beautiful, and the overall smoothness is excellent. When it comes to performance, both devices keep improving every year and offer really high performance. iPhone has the new A19 chip, while the Samsung S25 uses the Snapdragon 8 Elite. In everyday use, they're both super smooth, with enough power to do basically anything without slowdowns. If we look at the numbers, though, in benchmarks the iPhone scores better in single-core while Samsung wins in multi-core. Things change again with the GPU. Here the iPhone clearly beats the Samsung. I think these results can still vary in real-world use depending on how each operating system handles tasks, especially considering that the S25 comes with 12 GB of RAM, while the iPhone 17 has 8 GB. But honestly, in everyday use I didn't notice any big differences. App loading, animations, overall fluidity, they both do really well. There's one important thing you should know about storage. Samsung starts at 128 GB, while Apple removed that option this year, and now the base iPhone 17 starts from 256 GB. This is actually a big deal, because having double the storage helps a lot with heavy apps and all the photos and videos we take every day. And speaking of photos, there are some interesting differences. Not really on the main camera. Samsung has a 50 megapixel sensor and iPhone has a 48 megapixel one, pretty similar, and both take really good shots. One interesting thing is that the S25 lets you record 8K video and shoot in log format for better control in post-production, something you only get on the iPhone Pro models. But the real differences are on the other two cameras. The ultra-wide on the iPhone goes up to 48 megapixels, captures more detail and keeps the image sharper even when you zoom in. The ultra-wide on the Samsung stops at 12 megapixels and loses a bit of detail. Another interesting part is the telephoto side. On the iPhone, you can use the main camera with a 2x optical zoom and go up to 10x digital. Samsung instead has a dedicated zoom camera with 10 megapixels, and it can go up to 30x. I have to say the image quality seems better on the iPhone. The photos look sharper with less noise, while on Samsung you can zoom further but you lose quality. There's also something new with the front camera. Apple completely changed the selfie camera on the whole iPhone 17 lineup. Thanks to this new 18-megapixel square sensor, called Center Stage, you can take group photos with more detail and it's easier to tilt the phone. If you want, you can watch my full iPhone 17 review, but in my opinion this camera works much better than Samsung's 12-megapixel one, with better quality and a more comfortable field of view. About battery life. Even though Apple improved efficiency with the new chip and better display management, the battery capacities are pretty similar. The small difference in battery life probably comes from the fact that the iPhone 17 has a 3,692 mAh battery, while Samsung has 4,000 mAh. Anyway, both easily get you through the day. One thing I really appreciated on the iPhone is the improved fast charging. Now you can get to 50% in about 20 minutes, which gives you a lot more flexibility when you're in a hurry. For everything else, connectivity, Wi-Fi, GPS, and so on, there aren't any big differences. What really changes for me is the audio. The iPhone sounds better, louder, and fuller. The Samsung S25 feels a bit weaker and less punchy. But as always, I'll let you decide before we get to the final thoughts. Alright, if you made it this far and you want to know what I think between these two phones, first I want to ask you something. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. It's a small gesture, but it really helps me out a lot. That said, when choosing between these two phones, I think price matters a lot. I bought the iPhone 17 for around €1,000, while the Samsung S25 right now can easily be found on sale for around €600. Keep in mind, though, that the S25 has been out for a few months, and the new model might be coming soon. So, if you want a great phone and also save some money, I think the Samsung S25 might be the perfect choice. The iPhone 17, on the other hand, with slightly better display, camera, battery, and more base storage, feels like the more complete option to me. Obviously, these are two different operating systems, and here it really comes down to personal taste and what you prefer. Honestly, this topic deserves its own video, so let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that, and which one of the two phones you prefer. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, leave a free like and subscribe so you don't miss the next tech updates. See you next time.